Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Holistic Missile Show. I'm your host, John Holstein, and I'm joined by Patricia Wall. For 20 years, Trish has guided people to confidence and joy in their personal and professional lives. Trish provides a unique combination of intuitive insight and practicality that works for real life. Tonight, we're going to talk about Christmas stress. Trish will be giving us a Christmas and holiday season solution for drama, finances, and self-worth. Good evening, Trish. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. Thanks, John. So, Christmas stress, that's a big topic. And I guess it's holiday stress because there's lots of things going on. Everything from the work party to the exams. Lots of people are having exams before Christmas. Lots of people are traveling. So there's a lot going on for the holidays.
And
So,
also, the holiday situation is not only Christmas. There's Hanukkah, there's Kwanzaa, there's any number of other things that we can fit in that spot. So it's a very stressful time no matter what.
yeah, I think there's a lot going on. And I think that I want to talk a little bit about tribes and conform programming because that
Excellent.
seems, yeah, it seems like apropos. So a lot of what I'm teaching people is how to deal with the fact that you've got these primitive subconscious programs and they do a lot to influence your behavior. In fact, pretty much any time you think, oh, why did I say that? Or why did I do that? Or why didn't I do something? Anytime you're having those thoughts, what you're doing is actually recognizing the influence of subconscious programs. So back in the cave, where these programs come from, they're very, very primitive. Back in the cave, you had to conform to the requirements of the tribe, or you might just get booted out of the cave. And that really, really, really meant that you were probably going to die. So this stuff is hardwired into our survival. We have really serious programs that say you're supposed to conform to what the tribe wants and be who they want you to be. Now, your modern rational mind is going, excuse me, I decide who I am, and I decide which Christmas parties I'm going to, and I decide, who my friends are or what my interaction with my family is. And that's a that's a great theory. And then you have things like shoulds going on in the back of your head, or guilt, or conflict about, where you got pressure from these people and social demands and gift giving demands. You got all these sort of expectations, and you spend a lot of time and energy just juggling all that stuff, just trying to figure out how to fit it all into your life or into your pocket, especially when it comes to gift stuff. And the fact that shoulds exist. Oh, I really should fill in the blank. Or you're talking yourself out of some kind of social pressure. Oh, gee, I really should call so and so, or I really should invite so and so, or I really should. And you may be very, very clear, like, oh, not doing that. Nope. This is not part of my problem. This is not on my list. The fact that the chatter is happening in your head anyway means that there are primitive subconscious programs that have influence. And, they're taking up your emotional energy. That chatter in your head takes up space, and it interferes with your ability to be calm, to enjoy yourself, because it creates stress. So those are what conform programs are doing, and it's really easy to see the evidence of them because you can hear the chatter in your own head.
I can actually hear the chatter in my head right now going, yes, yes, yes. So something must be going right.
It's a simple thing to make up your mind about something. You say, okay, this is my decision. I've made up my mind. And in all fairness, sometimes it's hard to come to a decision, or sometimes you don't know the right decision. But when you've made up your mind, you think, well, no, I've made up my mind. That's it. We're done. I know what I'm doing. That doesn't stop that chatter. It doesn't stop the conflict. And so in order to basically stop that conflict, in order to stop that stress, because it is physically a stress. It is emotionally a stress. You actually have to go back to those conform programs and start removing them. So you can go to the website, ttloinc.com, and in the shop you'll find free downloads, and one of the free downloads is True to You Unlock, and that's specifically designed to work at the subconscious level to help you remove those programs. And it's really important to comprehend that it's not about what you're thinking. You know, you may have a really clear decision in the place where you think, in that modern cognitive part of your brain. I'm talking about the stuff back here in the more primitive parts of your brain, and that's where those shoulds are coming from. That's where, that's the stuff that's going to bother you. Was that a comment?
No, no. What I was trying to think in my head was, unless you heard that, and that's possible, was that how can you identify which program to take out? Which one would you actually start with?
Okay. For most people who aren't familiar with the idea of removing programs, just doing the unlock is going to help. It's going to find pain points and help remove those programs. For people who are more experienced and understand the idea of there are programs, what you want to look for is anywhere where you're feeling nagged by yourself. Anywhere where you're questioning your decision, or anywhere where the decision you've made you're still having internal chatter about. Okay? So if you say, I'm going to cut down on my gift budget this year. I'm just going to pick out the people who, I really feel that I have to get gifts for, and I'm just really cutting down on everything else. And then in the back of your head, you hear that chatter of, well, that's kind of mean, and, what about the paper boy, and what about such so-and-so, and, oh, that person, they don't have a big family, and maybe they'll be sad if I don't get them a gift. There's all that chatter that goes on in your head. The chatter means that you're conflicted. And you can say, no, I've made up my mind. I'm not conflicted. Well, you're not conflicted in the cognitive part of your brain. You're conflicted in the subconscious part of your brain. And that's what will help you. So if you think, when you do the unlock, before you start it, kind of think, this is the chatter that's going on in my head, and that's kind of how I'm going to aim this unlock. Does that make sense?
Yes, much more so. I know that certainly when I was younger, I would always go through that. Okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. We're going to keep it simple this year. And then something would snap on the 24th, and I would run through them all like a moron, spend all my money, and buy 1,000 things.
That's
so
funny.
The tribal would kick out of me.
Yes. And I wonder how many of the people in the mall were having the same reaction. So
yeah.
They count on that, It's a huge sales. Mm-hmm. They know that whatever went snap in your head, you're just going to buy something. And at that point, you probably don't care what it costs. And,
the good thing about the 24th is it's often on sale. So there's a certain logic to this.
Oh, that's your story. That's a great story.
Sticking to it.
I like that. That's great. I know that I can remember, the whole idea of, we better have extra things in the freezer in case people drop by, or we better have extra stuff in the cupboards, or extra alcohol, or just treats, lots and lots of things. You tend to have more food around, you tend to have more drinks around, and you can probably predict if people are going to drop by, because they probably did it before, and they'll probably do it again. It's interesting. You can treat it as sort of this surprise that happens that you have to deal with, or you can say, how do I want to plan for this? So an example would be, I know people who decide, on one of whatever day they say they choose Boxing Day, or say they choose December 28th, whatever suits them. They say, I'm having an open house. And, so between 1 and 3 on this afternoon, if you're coming, that's when you come. That defines a time for people to come by. And it actually means that if they don't come during that time, they're being rude. They're being rude. And you don't have to greet them at the door if they drop by unexpectedly and say, oh, you're being rude. What you can do is say, oh, really expected you to come on the 28th. Are you going to? We weren't prepared for people to come by. You can decide if you actually let them in the door or not, and you can let them in the door. However, it is important to it's not rude for you to say, oh, gee, we expected you to come on the 28th. Thoroughly, would have had coffee at that point. And don't make the scramble to serve them things. Don't make the scramble to get out the fancy treats, because they are stepping outside the boundary you've established. Doesn't mean be rude, doesn't mean be unwelcoming. It's give them a clear message. This is what you were expected to do. Why aren't you doing it?
Now, an interesting question would be, how many people, I'm not saying a large population, but how many people would actually react to, okay, these are my boundaries, I want you on the 28th between 3 and 5, and then some people respond by showing up on the 27th at 2. Is that a reaction to some degree? Is that?
It could absolutely be a reaction. What they're doing, they're either challenging you, or they're demanding that you give them higher status. Okay, so you have lots of choices. One choice would be don't be home. It's a really easy choice. Just because somebody rings your doorbell doesn't mean you have to answer the door. That's a really fundamental rule. And if you feel that you can't ignore the doorbell, you're already starting out with a boundary issue. And that's okay. You have to know, okay, I'm not comfortable. If they come to the door, then I have to let them in. That's okay. Know that about yourself. That's all right. It's okay for you to say, oh, gee, I really wanted you to come when everybody else was here. I thought, we'd all get to be here together. And so you're not criticizing what they've done. You're not saying this is a bad thing. You're saying, oh, this would have been a better thing. That's how you say it without it being an argument. You say, oh, I really wanted you to be here when everybody else was here. That would have been great. They will probably come up with a story. Oh, we thought we'd just want to spend time with just us. And the response, you don't validate what they say. You don't do that. You don't say, oh, gee, it's nice to have just us. Don't do that. Okay? What you do is say, I really thought it'd be great to have all of us. And just repeat what you said. Don't justify. Don't explain. If you try to justify or explain, what you've done is open a negotiation. And the fact that they're demanding more status, they're saying, oh, you have to give us special treatment or whatever it is in their head. The fact that they're doing that means that they believe that they can overwhelm whatever reasoning you may have. So just don't tell them your reasoning. If you present it, if you try and explain it, if you try and justify it, you're just starting a negotiation. You've already got someone. Yeah, you've already got someone who thinks they deserve higher status.
So what other stresses can come from Christmas? What other problems can we associate with that? There's a lot of depression involved with Christmas also.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of depression. So one of my fundamental bottom line statements, depression is when a freeze and hide reaction gets stuck. And a freeze and hide reaction happens because you feel that you have unmeetable requirements. And although those requirements may seem like they're coming from outside you, the only way they have any influence on you is if you believe them too. So if you feel like everybody wants a piece of me or everybody expects things from me, and that's unmeetable, it's only true if you agree with their demands or agree that they have the right to make demands of you. So I'll take a moment and just talk a little bit about those reactions. So we're hardwired with 3 threat reactions: stand and fight, run away, freeze and hide. Most people have heard of those because they're fight or flight reactions. Freeze and hide occurs when you believe you have unmeetable requirements. When you believe that you have unmeetable requirements. So it could be, I need to spend more on gifts than I have. Or there's not enough hours in the day. I can't meet all my obligations. I can't do all the things I need to do. It only happens when you believe it. It's really easy to turn it into a should. I should do this because this is what's expected of me. I should do this because this is the right thing to do based on some social rule. It's only when you internalize it and make it your requirement of yourself that you'll trigger freeze and hide. And when you get stuck in that, that's what causes the depression. That's what triggers it. If you get sort of the deep dark depressions, then you've got a lot of freeze and hide going on. It's simple to say, well, I'll just have to have less requirements of myself. I just have to take it easy. It's simple to say that. Now we're back to, you make that decision with your cognitive mind. It doesn't change the programming that's going on in your subconscious. So you always have to work with this stuff at the subconscious level, because that's where the triggers are and that's where the reactions are. If you try and decide yourself out of depression, it's exactly equivalent to deciding not to sweat. It's exactly as effective, it's exactly as rational.
Interesting analogy. Works well for me.
Well, good luck with the decide not to sweat. Good luck with that.
Yeah, wouldn't work.
It would not work. And it's important to know that. And I think people, so many people get frustrated because they think, I should be able to just pull up my socks, or I should be able to just have a better attitude, or and unfortunately, because people just don't understand body chemistry, they'll get that from the people around them too. Even people who really care about them will think, well, you just need to be in a better mood, or you just need to, take it easy, or you just need to take a Valium, calm down a bit. They really believe what they're saying, and you have to pause and step back and say, would you believe that you could choose, decide, make a decision, okay, from now on, I won't sweat? Would you believe that would work? I mean, it'd be nice if it did, but you wouldn't expect that of yourself. So why would you believe that you could decide your way out of other body chemistry, brain chemistry reactions? Why would you believe you could make a decision that's just going to change your brain chemistry? Now, you can change it. That's the cool thing, if you know how. An important thing is that you stop pretending you can change it with attitude. You stop pretending you can change it with discipline, and actually do what you need to do to change it, which is work on those immutable requirements. Work on using the tools to release these programs from your subconscious. So I think that what Christmas does, what holidays do, that really escalates depression, is it drives home for people the requirements they have of themselves that they really can't meet. They really can't. So you could say, oh, well, but I should have a better social life. Well, if you are struggling with depression, social life is not where you want to start. You want to start with changing your body chemistry, because you're not going to feel like doing anything. A freeze and hide reaction, the strongest characteristic is withdrawal. Everything becomes too much trouble. You don't want to go out. You don't want to talk to people. Even people you like, you just don't want to deal with them. Okay? And so if you're calling yourself wrong for not having the energy or the interest in just not being willing to make an effort to either be around people you know or meet some new people, if you're calling yourself wrong for that makes you a wonderful unmeetable requirement, and you get to be more depressed. It just really becomes an endless loop. So, go ahead.
I was going to say it's really interesting, because I was just going to ask you about one of the other problems and stresses of the holiday season is social anxiety, and then you slide right into social anxiety.
You wouldn't know, but they were connected, right?
I don't. Who knew?
Yeah. Well, so lots of things are happening around Christmas parties, and people are doing social things that aren't happening during the rest of the year. And so if you're not comfortable socially for whatever reason, if you're not comfortable, it kind of smacks you in the face with it. right? And if everybody around you is going to parties and having family events and you don't have that going on in your life, it can make you feel really lonely. Right? It can, again, smack you in the face with it. So now we go back to the starting point for this is deeper than, why don't I have lots of places to go for Christmas? Or, why don't I enjoy these people that are around me? The starting point is getting back to that place of you have unmeetable requirements you may not even know exist. You probably don't even know they exist. So it could be, perhaps you were taught to believe before you were 5 years old that if you want to have friends, then you have to be really nice. And perhaps you don't think you don't think of yourself as nice. Then you won't let yourself have a big social life, even if you want it, because those programs in place long before probably long before you even remember, will act out in your life, and they'll act out without you even being aware of it. Just like sometimes you're sweaty and you don't even know. That's the thing. It acts in your body chemistry. It acts in your behavior.
Very interesting.
Pardon me.
Bless you. Very interesting. I was just talking to someone who had Thanksgiving in America, and they were going to a dinner, a buffet on Thanksgiving Day. And that particular day, I was asking them, I said, well, how's the party going? And they said, social anxiety, same as usual. And I thought to myself, I never really see that social anxiety part. I never really noticed that before, but yet so many people actually deal with that, and no one ever sees it. So it really is something that we're not used to seeing and we don't expect from others so much.
Well, if you feel confident, if you're comfortable talking to people, you don't think that other people aren't. It just doesn't occur to you. If you are uncomfortable talking to people, it dominates every interaction that you have. It limits your choices, right? So we go, you've got children who are often surrounded with people they don't know. They may or may not be comfortable interacting with. Pardon me. If their parents are really social, they may not realize that the kids aren't. You could have extrovert parents who have introvert children. They may not notice that the kids just don't know how to chat to people. And if you're just naturally social and naturally extroverted, it would never occur to you to say, I need to teach my kid how to do social chit chat. It's not something that would enter your mind. Nobody ever taught you. If you're an extrovert, nobody taught you how to do that. And it just comes naturally because maybe you're just interested in people. And if you're interested in people, you ask them questions about themselves and they like to talk, right? But an introvert won't know how to do that. And won't necessarily model the behavior they see.
It's really interesting. I was raised with a young woman in my early teens, and she came from a very well-to-do family, and the family was of a British background, Scottish and Irish. And they were doctors, and they were very social, but they were very social in a political sense. Like they really knew what to do in good situations. And the mother actually taught the daughter how to deal with, say, a cocktail party. So now I will be with my friend, and she will have people over, and I can see everything her mother taught her come out of her, but it is so unnatural. Now, I'm an extrovert. I'm a crazy, talk to anything, talk to walls, talk to cats, everything.
We know that about you.
I know that about me, and I also know that she is an introvert, that she doesn't do this naturally, and that when I see her doing that, I realize, okay, maybe I should start making the party more fun. Jackie doesn't know what to do, and ta-da. So
Yes.
that's my cue to go, okay, well, let's start a fire, or let me take my shirt off, or something.
We know that works.
It always works.
It always works. That's an interesting thought that hadn't occurred to me, is that if you're an introvert and you aren't necessarily chatty, invite some extroverts. You probably know some.
Indeed. Another interesting point that you just had that you brought up, extrovert parents. The person I was talking about in the Thanksgiving situation comes from two very extroverted parents, like loud and proud kind of thing. And he has social anxiety because
See?
he never probably needed to be too loud and proud because the whole family was, right? So both very interesting points.
Yeah, and it doesn't come naturally to him. Now the other thing that's the challenge is if he's got two extrovert parents, they probably had tons of people around. He was always uncomfortable, and his model for how you were social was his parents. He'd feel wrong.
Yes.
And that would become an innate shame. Okay? So you feel guilt when you think what you do is wrong. You feel shame when you feel like what you are is wrong. And he would see all these people around him, chatting and comfortable, and think, what's wrong with me? Why aren't I comfortable? Why don't even I like this? And that would become shame. He would feel like there was something wrong with him because he's not behaving the way the people around him are. He's not feeling the way they clearly feel. And that shame then becomes the root of the social anxiety because now he would experience this as a young child. Anytime he thought about interaction, he feels wrong.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if it was, him and one other person and they are comfortable having conversation. It doesn't matter. He's got this innate belief that in his interactions, he's wrong. Okay? It would help him to understand what an introvert is and what an extrovert is and to know, like, you're not an extrovert. That's okay. It's okay for that to be true. And it's not a black and white thing. People have introvert urges about some things, they have extrovert urges about some things, and it's a continuum. I remember years ago I did a test just for fun, just to see, okay, where do I fall on this line? And I tested right in the middle. And the psychologist said, here's how you know, because you tested literally right in the middle of the introvert-extrovert spectrum. How do you recharge? If you recharge by being around people, if that gasses you up and makes you feel more energized, then you're an extrovert. If you recharge by being alone, then you're an introvert. I recharge by being alone. I'm an introvert.
Interesting, because I recharge both ways.
You see?
That's really funny. But I'm an introvert, actually. Um, it is interesting too because I know that in some situations, if you're one-on-one with someone, you have all the ease and comfort, and you can talk. But when you put multiple people in a room, how does that apply?
Ah, so that's actually very simple. It's because you don't know how to conform. Okay? So it's like this. If I sit you at a table with someone who loves hockey, you can talk about hockey even though it's not your favorite thing. You'll do it. Yep, okay, let's talk. If I sit you at a table with two people, one of them loves hockey and the other one hates hockey, now what are you going to do?
Enjoy the conversation.
Be vastly entertained?
Watch the show.
Oh, okay. This is the thing. People don't like conflict. And so someone who is easy with social situations, what they're going to do is they're going to find a topic that isn't hockey, and they're going to search for topics. They're just going to chat until both people respond, and then they'll continue with the topic that both people respond to. For someone who's uncomfortable, this is their worst nightmare. They've got a conflict waiting to happen, and they don't know how to make things. They don't know how to make things easy or cheerful. It's the easiest way to get people talking is to get them talking about themselves. Most people are interested in something, and so you find out what that is, and they'll tell you all about it. If you're not easy socially, the most common thing people do is they talk about themselves. They talk about the thing they know. So if they're big on stamp collecting, they will talk about stamp collecting because that's the thing they know, so they know how to feel confident with that. And if the person who's with them is not into stamp collecting, then they're going to be frustrated and fall asleep.
Bored.
Yeah, And so, like, a really simple baseline is find out about the person you're talking to. Find out about them, and they will be much more interested. It's okay if you discover a common interest. Great, then you have something that you can both talk about. It is an obvious sign of social discomfort when people talk about what they're interested in.
Ah, interesting. So we actually have people sending us in questions.
Oh,
Would you
okay.
be willing to give us a couple of answers?
I love questions. I do, I
I
do.
do. Okay, I'm going to start with David from Toronto. And David says, I'm a single dad and I don't have a big income. I have 3 kids. Their friends get so much stuff for Christmas that I just can't afford to give them. It makes me feel like a failure and I'm afraid I'm depriving them.
Yeah, no. Well, so I have a whole bunch of things to say about that. First of all, I think that my children were at least 10 before they got anything new for Christmas. I was the garage sale queen. I loved it, and I loved it. To me, it didn't matter whether I could afford it or not. It was, why would I go into a store and pay $50 for something that I could get just as good at a garage sale for $5? Why would I do that? So I got to tell you, garage sales, and usually between 8 and 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, if you're not there, it's over. Um, because that's when that's when the good stuff goes. So consider that. Consider that. Second thing is, I promise you that when your children are older, they are not going to remember whatever shiny plastic thing was under the tree. They're going to remember whether you had time for them or not. If you create traditions and activities that are about enjoying the time you spend together, they will remember that. And, my children are adults now. My youngest is 24. Um, they talk about the things we did together. They don't talk about some shiny thing they got under the tree. Even if I got it for $5, that's not what they talk about. They talk about, oh, we always play this card game, or oh, putting popcorn on a string. I mean, it sounds corny, but this is the stuff people like. Making cookies together, and if you don't know how to make cookies, buy them in a pack, man. Like, you can get cookie mixes where you either throw in some water and you mix it up and you're done, or you can buy it in a tube and cut it up and put it on a tray. Like, you don't have to be a chef to make cookies. If you spend the time making cookies with your kids, that's going to matter. That's going to matter. If you're looking at people around you and saying, my kids don't have the same shiny things as they do, bottom line, think more of your children. Think more of your children. If you give value to those shiny things you're not giving them, then so will your children. You're teaching them what's important. Is that really what you want to teach them? Do you want your children to believe that someone who can't give them the shiny thing is not good enough? Is that really how you want them to view the world?
Interesting. When I was much younger, I come from a rather bohemian group of friends, and we always shared stuff. If I had something that I knew my friends liked, I would give it to them. It would be at their birthday, or Christmas would be a good time for that. And when I was in my early 20s, say 23, 24, I had a partner from another country who was very much of the shiny camp. He liked shiny, for sure, and gave me shiny presents. It was lovely. But so one Christmas, 2 of my best friends gave me the funniest postcard they've ever had sitting off their fridge. It was absolutely hilarious. It made me laugh every time I saw it. So that year for Christmas, that's what they gave me. My shiny partner from the other country was flabbergasted, could not understand how someone could give something used to somebody else. So it really is, like you said, how they're raised, how they're the compartment of these people. It's the simplest things, and the activity together is the most important. The sharing.
Yeah. Years and years ago, I was like 19, and somebody I worked with, she said, what we do is we give Christmas ornaments. That's what we do for a gift. So if you want to do a gift, give us a Christmas ornament. And just some little thing, okay? And that started when I was 19, and I thought that was brilliant. And so I said to everybody, this is what I do. I'm giving Christmas ornaments. And when I could, I made them. And when I couldn't, I bought them. Not something extravagant, just something simple. And then what happened was, over time, when we decorated the tree, it became this huge thing. Oh, this is the one that so and so gave us, and this is the one that so and so gave us, and it became a thing. And because made it clear to everybody that this is what we did, we do Christmas ornaments, a lot of times people would either make something or they would look for something meaningful. And so the tree became this whole big story. It was really cool. And so a few years ago, we had a little party with our sons and sat down and went through all of the Christmas ornaments and let them pick out the ones that, they wanted to have for their household. And that, again, was the huge story. It's like, oh, this is so-and-so, this one, this one here. And they had their favorites and they had to negotiate. It was fun because, everybody centered on this little one that everybody had as a favorite, and they had to negotiate. Well, okay, I'm getting that one, but you can have this one, and that made it fun. So all these ornaments were not just shiny balls on a tree; they were stories. They were stories about people we knew, and I thought that's just lovely.
Well, and it also goes back to that tradition idea of the simplicity. My mother used to make doll dresses for my sister, and that's what I remember.
Yes.
The simplicity of it, traditions, things that you can carry on. So, and that's, and as most people don't know, but Trish knows, I am the biggest Christmas baby on the planet. And my mother still bakes all the cookies, all the things I remember from my childhood, because that's what the tradition was that we have, and that's what we remember the most.
I love your mom's cookies.
And we share.
And you share very well, thank you. So there's a cool thing, is because kids sometimes want to give a gift to their friends, then let it be cookies. Instead of trying to find something shiny, let them either make an ornament or make a batch of cookies, and everybody gets 2 cookies tied with a red bow. They get to give. They get to give something they made themselves, and they learn it doesn't have to be about the shiny thing. Right? It's a challenge because you have all of the commercials and all of the messaging saying buy the shiny thing, because advertisers spend millions trying to convince you that the shiny thing is what is important. So, if we go back to any of the dads and the moms, it's your job to counteract that. It's your job to say, this is what's important.
Okay, we're going to move to our next question. This is Karen from Ottawa. And Karen says, I'm single and Christmas is hard for me. I have family, but I don't have a family of my own. And the holidays are all about family. I get so sad, I hate the holidays. What can I do?
Well, I got to tell you, the first thing that comes into my mind is that you're not alone. If you turn inward and focus on the fact that you're grieving what you believe is wrong, you believe you want your own family, I want you to pause and look around and think, you know what, I'm not alone. What if you find 4 other people who are in the same boat you are and have a party with them? Think about building yourself a bit of a clan to say, you know what, I don't have to do this alone. Okay? The moment for deciding how you want to move forward on whether you want a relationship or whether you want to build yourself a group to share these things with, the building doesn't happen now. This is the moment when you're immersed in all this social stuff and surrounded by it. So look around you and say, who can I do this with this year? Who do I know that's in the same boat that I am, that would probably be really glad to say, oh, I have somewhere to go. There's someone I have someone to be with. Doesn't have to be a partner. Doesn't even have to be a family. It's that I'm busy. That helps a lot. You could be a solution for a lot of people. Make them feel good.
I definitely spent many years away from home when I was younger in another country, and many years we created a space for others to come. Just because that they didn't have anybody, or they felt they didn't have anybody, or they hadn't managed that particular solution yet, and it was like, bring them in, come to the house, and sometimes there'd be 14 people at the table, but sometimes there'd only be 4. And often 4 is even better than 14 because there's less dishes at the end.
Well, and they can help with the dishes.
They
Whatever
better have
works,
one of
right?
the dishes.
They better, you know, and allow them to bring something. Like make it a potluck. You know, don't feel that you have to supply everything. The whole point of this is that everybody is joining together to make something better than what you have on your own. So say,
Yeah.
here's your, here's what you're bringing, or ask them, what could you bring? Figure all that out, and make it a group effort, and then it's a together thing instead of an alone thing. Now, if you feel like you actually want to be in a relationship, you want to have a family of your own, there's a reason you don't. There's a reason you don't. This kind of time, this kind of social event time, can make you feel very wrong because you're not in that position of having a relationship. The thing is, there are deep-seated reasons why that's not happening for you, and this is probably not the moment to tackle them. I would suggest that there's a lot of stuff about relationships on my site, and there's some workshops that will be very helpful. Um, most of the time, when I meet people who say, I really, really want to meet someone, their energy says no fishing. Because if you really wanted to meet someone, you would have. And you say, well, no, I don't want to be alone. Well, that's a totally different thing. I understand you don't want to be alone. That doesn't mean you actually want to meet someone. And that could be because you've still got baggage from being hurt. It could be that you put unmeetable requirements on yourself that make you feel wrong in a relationship. Maybe you think you're supposed to be perfect in a relationship. Yeah, that doesn't work, eh? There's nobody out there like that. Nobody who's actually flesh and blood. Only the plastic people are perfect. Um, so in the same way that you have programs that influence you, those same programs put out vibes that tell people how to respond to you. And so I gotta tell you, when I often get people who come and say, why haven't I met that person? The starting point is you have no fishing signs in your energy. And what we want to start with is why? Why do you actually in your subconscious you don't want anybody? So once we clear that, I usually find that people are, once you truly clear that I don't actually want a relationship, usually they're beating people off with sticks. And then it's about, well, what do you actually want in a relationship? Because there's tons of other people out there who would love to find someone. And
I just have one comment on this. From personal experiences, Trisha's method in relationship advice is particularly good. And if anyone is actually having trouble with a relationship, they should get to the website and find something, because she has helped me immensely in many of my situations.
many people.
So, yeah, many,
I
and I'm
could.
sure, yes.
I am proud to say I've helped a lot of people stop being single. And the starting point is to find out why you want to be single, okay? Because you just think you want someone, you don't actually. And so that's where we have to start with the stuff that's below what you think, get that moving, and then people appear. They really do.
Okay. I'm going to, one last question. We're kind of getting up on the last quarter of our show tonight.
Okay,
Flies by.
it does.
Flies by. So I'm going to, one last little question here.
Oops. To me, you look frozen.
It is, I'm a modern woman.
Oh,
It's like he baits me. Even when I tell myself that I'm not going to let him get to me, he draws me into an argument every time. Why am I doing this?
oh, no, I can't hear you. John, I missed the first part of that, and you seemed to
Okay.
freeze, and then I saw your mouth moving, and I wasn't hearing the words, so you're going to have to give that from the top there.
Okay, I'll start over. Okay. Debbie in Canada says, I do not get along with my father-in-law, as he is very chauvinistic. I'm a modern woman. It's like he baits me. Even when I tell myself that I'm not going to let him get to me, he draws me into an argument every time. Why am I doing that?
Oh, that's a great question. I like that one. Uh, one of
I
the
knew you would.
one of the fun parts of Christmas is you get to be around all those people you wouldn't necessarily choose to be social with if they weren't family or obligation. Uh, you said you feel like he baits you. Well, of course he does. there's a fundamental challenge when someone has a different value system than you do. So your values are what you believe is right, your sense of right. Uh, Everybody has different values than you do. Every single person, and even people who seem like they have the same kind of beliefs and values as you do, they actually don't. There may be intersections and overlaps, comfortable common ground, but they're not exactly the same. Nobody can. So anytime someone demonstrates that their values are different than your values, you're going to experience it as a threat. That's a subconscious reaction, and it's because of those really deep-seated conform programs. Back in the cave, if you didn't have the same values as the people in the cave, they might dump you out. If it's someone with influence, like your partner's parent, they have influence, then it's even more of a threat. And it's really uncomfortable if you're putting your partner in the position of, say, your dad's being a jerk. That gives him an unmeetable requirement because he cares about you. He cares about his family too. So if you put him in the middle, that's a challenge. You have the right to do that. You have the right to say, I don't want to be attacked if we're socializing. I think the key is to understand that if you recognize that the threat is that their values are different than yours, you have a choice about how you interact with that. Someone having different values is a threat, but is it actually dangerous? Someone having different values is a threat, so you're going to react to it. The question is it dangerous? Do you actually need to fight this fight? When he baits you, he's saying, you have different values than I do. I don't agree with you. The automatic response is to tell him he's wrong. You want to say you're wrong, my values are right. Well, your values are right for you. They are. Your values are right for you. His values are right for him. That's the hard part. Because you're going, well, no, he's just wrong. The thing is, and this is going to sound harsh, you don't have any more right to tell him what his values should be than he has the right to tell you what your values should be. And even though you feel that what you believe is right, if you believe that that should be imposed on somebody else, you have to pause and say, how would you feel if they wanted to impose it on you? Do you really want to live in a way that allows other people to impose their values on you? I don't. I like living in a country where I get to choose what right is for me. And you say, well, okay, fine. He can believe what he wants. I just don't want to talk to him about it because I don't agree with him. Well, here's the thing. In the same way that you will experience him as a threat because his values are different, he will experience you as a threat because your values are different. So what's going to happen is he's going to want to demonstrate that he is safe. He will do that by wanting to win a fight with you. This is a status thing. He wants to feel that he's more important, that he has more status, that whether or not you agree with him, he can back you down. And you can say, well, I don't want to back down. All right. You can do that. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to have the fight, have the fight big. If you don't want to back down, then back him down. Understand the price of that. And ask yourself, what is your actual goal? What is your actual goal? Okay? You said, I don't want to get in an argument every time. Well, maybe that's because you would prefer that these family interactions, even if it's somebody with different values, you just don't want to have the fight. Then how could he feel safe? How could he feel safe? Okay? This has been going on for a while. So I would suggest that you use humor. So what I'd be inclined to do is take a bottle of whatever he drinks, okay? And then when he baits you, you say, okay, you and I have different opinions on this, so we're going to turn this into a game of caps. And you get two glasses, and you say, okay, every time you say something I don't agree with, you have to have a drink. And every time I say something that you don't agree with, I'm going to have a drink. And we'll see who's standing at the end of the night.
That may not work for everybody.
I absolutely know. It is an example. It's an example, okay? Because the reason I'm saying this, and I get it, is the point is you've taken it out of conflict and made it into a game.
Absolutely.
Okay? And if you can't do it with booze, I'd get a scoreboard. I'd make a scoreboard, and the minute he said something, I would put your name on one side, his name on the other side. Okay? I'd stick it up on the wall and give him a mark. Okay, that's one for you. I'm keeping track, okay? Do you see this? I'm keeping track. Lay it against the wall. Okay? Then you make some kind of wisecrack, put one up for you. Say, okay, we're even now. It's your turn.
I adore the concept. It's really funny. It'd be fun to see big chunks of really sugary fudge and everything. You have to eat one. So the more you screw up, the more you eat fudge. You just have a sugar buzz.
I love it. Because, yes.
You can only eat so much of that stuff,
Well, and the thing is, what you're doing is you're saying, okay, it's safe for us to have this disagreement. We're turning it into a game. And that takes away the seriousness of the competition. It diffuses the threat. Does that make sense?
It's an amazing. I love it. As a concept, it's amazing. I may someday use it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, especially the booze one. No, I'm just kidding. So we have about 7 minutes left in this particular hour, and we talked a lot about things on the internet or thing at the website. Is there any one quick 5-minute meditation you might want to share with us tonight?
Well, that's a great idea.
Because I love them.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do being safe with people who have different values.
Excellent.
Makes sense with me. Because you're at Christmas time, lots of social interaction, lots of socializing with people you might not choose to socialize with, like in the workplace and stuff. So focus on your breath. And when I say focus on your breath, what I mean is allow your breath to be even on the way in and even on the way out. And let it be slow and low in your body. And what we'll do is we'll do a little singing bowl, and we're going to do it at the sacral chakra. So the sacral chakra is right below your belly button. So if you're trying to find it, you stick your thumb in your belly button and drop your hand. So that's right underneath your belly button. That's where your sacral chakra is. It's kind of in the middle of your body, kind of sitting in the middle of your pelvis. And then picture a bowl kind of sitting inside the bones of your hips. And it could be any kind of a bowl, whatever suits you. And imagine a stream of light that pours into that bowl. And it fills up the bowl and overflows it like a glass left under a running tap. And just for a moment, just sit with that light flowing into the bowl, overflowing it, flowing down through you into the earth. And then imagine that you can sing that bowl the way you would like sing a wine glass if you ran your finger around the rim, or a singing bowl like a Tibetan singing bowl. Or imagine that the light pouring into the bowl vibrates the bowl. What you're looking for is the vibration of that sacral chakra, which is I am me. And so you're allowing that singing bowl vibration to be through you and to radiate from you. And what that's doing, because it's the I am me chakra, is it's saying, I am safe being me. I'm surrounding myself with the energy of me. And it gives you a buffer when other people are trying to impose what they want on you. So allow yourself to sing that bowl. And this is something you can use on the phone, anytime you're around people. When you're thinking about social situations that make you uncomfortable, go to that, specifically to that sacral chakra, and sing your bowl. And you'll feel yourself settle. Okay? When you feel done, focus on the stream of light overflowing the bowl. Let go of radiating the vibration. Let go of singing it. And then kind of bring your attention back to here and now. That's it.
Wow.
This is probably the best tool for being in social situations that are uncomfortable, is that singing bowl. If that one doesn't speak to you, because different people, different tools, on the site look up cell breathing, because that's
Cell breathing. Mm.
okay. So singing bowl and cell breathing, best thing ever for being in uncomfortable social situations, or even if they're not uncomfortable, if they're just wearing. Okay, good tools for you to have.
Okay, great. Trish, we are coming on the end of the show. Above and beyond buying lots of tequila and fudge for the holidays for those ornery, hard to get along with father-in-laws, do you have a last word on Christmas stress?
Sure, of course I do. Bottom line is to understand that all of that pressure that you feel is primitive conform programs, and you can't will yourself out of that. So if you think, oh, why do I let it get to me? Anytime you're thinking that, you're recognizing the influence of your subconscious, and you need the tools to help you release the programs. So unlock for taking out those conform programs, singing bowl for keeping your cool in the moment. Okay, if you practice it before you're there, it's going to be a lot easier for you, so that you can do it without thinking about it. I can do it paying attention. I can have conversations and do it. It's easy. So just a little bit of practice helps hugely, and it will keep things cool. I like that. So thank you, John.
Thank you, Trish. Our next show will be, I believe, on January 7th, the first Thursday of the month. I kind of calculated that in my head as we were speaking, because I'm smart. And that will be at 7 o'clock, as it was this time. I believe we're going to be doing the New Year's resolution, how to deal with the new year ahead of us, for a topic.
Oh.
And otherwise, I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you, John. And thank you for everybody who tuned in.
And I would like to say good night, everyone, and see you next month.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.